about right when I turned 18 that I had a set of friends that I was kind of getting familiar with. I didn't really know them too well. And I went to go pick up one of my girlfriends, and there was a bunch of people at their house, and they were smoking meth. At that point in my life, I was very naive and kind of didn't have like a real understanding of what drugs were. I was raised a lot by my grandma, so those kind of weren't topics that we talked about a lot. And so when I was there, they, offered it to me, and it's crazy how easy I said yes. I think I've spent a lot of time trying to understand where that switch was that made it so easy for me to say yes. So I tried it that first time, and they, gave me like a pipe and I didn't have to pay for it, and that was it. My life spiraled completely out of control. Within like a week, I was completely changed. And when I tried it for the first time, it just felt super euphoric. I felt motivated. I felt confident. And super energetic, it just kind of like boosted my mood and my whole like persona. And so I was like, well, this is cool, this is fine, right? I'm like motivated, doing things, going places, happy, but that didn't last long. I kept trying to initially chase that high, and then it became expensive because obviously you have to use more, right? And then it didn't matter how much I was smoking, it didn't do anything, so I changed into using IVs, right? IV user, and that high is completely different. And I think that is where it completely changed me. I can remember the first time I used it intravenously, I lost my breath. It was like a cold feeling throughout my entire body, and the high was completely different. It was just like floating on a cloud. And then that was the high that I was chasing. And $100 a day worth of drugs, you're not going to be able to afford that working at a normal job. I think that played into where like the criminal aspect came into play, and it just completely consumed my entire life. And of course, I'm accountable for my own actions, but a lot of addiction is fueled with crime, stealing things from the store, trading it for drugs. There was check programs at the store, and so we would download those check programs on laptops and make fake checks and cash them at the bank. It was so easy at that point that the criminal aspect of it progressed very quickly, very, very quickly. Oh my God. In legal issues, I had completely abandoned my family and was kind of like fell off the face of the earth. And that's the thing that I definitely learned the hard way is, stereotypically you think a drug user grows up in a family full of junkies and gang related or living on the streets, or I came from a very great family. My mom was a nurse as I was growing up. My grandparents have a group home in Pueblo. So drugs aren't biased, they can get anybody. I was that girl that they said, oh, it can't happen to her. I grew up doing sports. I did track, I did cheerleading, I did volleyball. I was on the honor roll, I got good grades. And it was probably like, maybe like 9 months that in the beginning of my addiction that I lost everything. I lost my family, my friends. I still had like my vehicle, but I didn't have anybody in my life that was before my addiction. I was in and out of jail probably 9 different times before I was finally incarcerated. I graduated the boot camp program with honors and was released to go home on parole. And that's kind of where my addiction with meth ended. I was definitely sober and trying to find my place back in normal life, but I wasn't really recovering anything about myself. I got married, I had a daughter, and then I found myself in my recovery married to someone who became an addict. And so, although I wasn't using, I was living the life of an addict. So here I was back again, losing friends, losing jobs, just kind of losing myself all over again for an addiction that didn't even belong to me. So I separated from my ex-husband. They're the motivation behind my life. I think that they're the most important thing in my life. And although I think you definitely have to be in recovery and make changes for yourself, I think that, it's good to have your children as the motivation behind your own personal self-care. And I think a lot of that is because you want your kids to have a better life. So I think one of the biggest reasons that I fell into addiction was I didn't know. I had no knowledge of what drugs were, what the possible outcomes were. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I definitely am honest with them on a level I think that's appropriate for their age. So Gracie is aware of the situation that her dad is involved with, and she understands kind of the basics as to why, we separated and why things are the way they are. Caleb and I have been very open and honest with each other, so he knows more of the details of the things that happened in my life and kind of the choices I made, how easy it was in the beginning to say yes, and then how quickly things changed and what happened because of it. Found Addicts to Athletes just on Google, and I came in and I kind of just planted myself here. And I had such a strong support system here that called me on my crap, really. And so that's when I began the recovery process. I started using the CrossFit workouts, the curriculum that Addicts to Athletes has, and kind of doing some soul searching on my own. I made some serious decision. I'm divorced now. I have full custody of my children, and I started, reaching out to my peers, and then I started coaching, and now we just contracted in January with the Circle program. So I run the Circle program as well. Before coming to this program, I kind of was in a hard spot in my life because even though I had been sober and I was doing good things with my life, anytime that I tried to find a job that was kind of respectable other than waitressing, I was shut down. And I'd make it through the entire interview process. I'm good with people, I'm intelligent, and as soon as they ran my background, everything changed. I didn't feel like I was good enough, and I had been labeled by that. So it wasn't until this program, but before that, I had just kind of given up on trying to find something better in life. And I think that is a scary area to be into when you don't feel like you're valuable. It's still a struggle, and I have to do a lot of explaining, and I think that I have to work 10 times harder than the average person to try and prove that I'm a good fit for any job, and rightfully so, but it creates a lot of obstacles that kind of never really leave.